What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Corvette Weekly. So another week of the Monday Corvette Weekly show. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. Some really interesting conversation. The dealerships keep making all kinds of interesting decisions, we'll say. We're going to talk about that, but we're also going to announce a new giveaway. We're actually going to do two giveaways tonight. One's new, one's kind of new. It's really cool. It doesn't matter if it's new or not. So ultimately, we have a good show tonight. So any of you guys in the northeast right now, you're feeling the same thing that I'm feeling. There's a bunch of snow. It's cold, and actually even these guys in the south are getting some cold weather, it seems. So it's actually based on what Brandon or David just said. It's colder down there than it is in Pennsylvania, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah, tonight is supposed to be high teens, low 20s, and then over the weekend it's supposed to snow down here.
Nice. Yeah, well, we got about 5 to 6 inches out there now. So, yeah, it's not that nice. But
I wish we get snow in Georgia. I mean,
you say that.
Past, I feel like.
You say that until it happens.
Oh, it's this much and the city shuts down and like you make CNN and everything else. Yeah.
LT4 Powered said that it's possible I was in a ditch. It's nasty there today. I'm not going to get into a ditch with that TRX. That TRX is not sliding anywhere unless it's ice, of course, but just snow here.
Yep. Yeah, Jay, 24 degrees in Huntsville. I'm feeling you, man. It's cold outside right now. We ain't used to this.
That's not even cold. That's ridiculous. For the South, that's insane. I mean, if it gets to anywhere near that temperature down in Florida, you're going to see iguanas falling out of the trees all over the place.
Yep.
Okay.
Down here, when it's even a threat of snow, like you can't buy bread and milk and toilet paper.
Oh, that's funny.
Even in the hospitals, people call in, and I literally drive 90 miles, even snowing or not. And I always make it to work. I never not
always.
Well, you got an all-wheel drive. You got a TRX. You got an all-wheel drive Tesla. Like, you have no excuse, Brandon.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Yeah, Professor Corvette says David has the car cover on the Challenger that makes it look like an old Chevy pickup. Yep, it's really detailed too. I'll tell you what, it's possibly the most detailed cover I've ever seen.
Do you have the Challenger back now, David? Is it back?
No, that's why I moved this up here. I finished the drywall in the big garage. I'm going to get it this week from Injected. So
nice. LT4 Powered says he sold his Canyon for a beater and found the 4-wheel drive doesn't work. The owner lied. How about that, man? Just brutal. The way the world is nowadays, people lying. I mean, the greed, the lies, it's disgusting. I mean, this actually factors into what we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, so if you guys clicked on this video for the thumbnail and you're hoping to see a C9 Corvette soon, it's not going to happen the way that this dealership's making it sound like. And it's really weird. I don't understand why this keeps happening. Yeah. Okay. Let me turn their mics up. I thought that same thing, actually.
Brandon and I have talked about this because everybody's gotten burned in auto parts or car war. Like, it used to not be that way when we were younger. Like, you could, people would tell you something you trusted, it was what it was. But like nowadays, you have to take if you're like, I bought a 454 big bike that was just, I don't even know how the damn thing ran when we turned it over. It was so bad. But like, people ripping you off all the time. Like, they're out there to rip you off more than they are to actually help you. It's sad that it's gotten that way, but it's bad.
It is. It's not even just bad. It's sad is what it is. Like,
it is sad.
The world used to be, you didn't have to worry about this kind of stuff. Nowadays, it's like guaranteed when you go in to buy something, something is broken, something's damaged, something is hidden that you're not going to find out about until well after you've made the purchase.
Especially used parts. I feel like used stuff sometimes is the worst for that. Engines, because there's so many things you can hide, on an engine block that can be bad. And people don't just get rid of stuff without a reason, unless they're hurting, there's kind of rare circumstances, but usually there's a reason why somebody's getting rid of something.
Yeah. Wheeler, I've been doing the same thing. He says, I've seen tons of renders of C9s as thumbnails on YouTube. I ignore them always as fake news. I've been doing the same thing because they're fake news. I get emails daily from subscribers saying, hey, did you see this picture of the new C9? And I'm like, it's an AI generated image. It always is, obviously. I mean, even if the C9 was on the horizon, we wouldn't know what it looked like until GM officially released it. So it's one of those things where when you see these, a lot of them, I've seen a couple of them recently that look like super shiny, like sitting under shop lights and stuff, and it looks almost legit. But I can always tell an AI image. It always has some sort of weird thing somewhere on the picture that says
it's almost too crisp or
almost too
good, you know what I mean?
perfect.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Some of the racing sims that are out there right now are so good.
Yeah.
It
Dude,
takes a second for me to figure out that it's not real when I'm
I've
watching
gotten
the video.
a ton of emails about the one with the Ram TRX that like takes off and it like does a wheelie so hard that the whole truck flips backwards.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get emails and they're like, did you see this truck? It's crazy. And I'm like, it's not real. Like,
They're like Grand Theft Auto or something.
It's Grand Theft Auto, yeah. Which is crazy that game looks that good considering that game's like 10 years old, maybe even older at this point. It's really not a new up-to-date game. But either way, I mean, if you guys haven't seen the way that the graphics on these video games are getting now, the new Grand Theft Auto that's coming out, I just saw a video of it on Instagram. I'll just say this. It's going to be a couple like younger guys, like the teenagers that are playing video games still. They're going to love this game. There's a couple
I
scenes.
love it though because it keeps the car dream and the passion alive. So I do like
it. To some degree, yeah. I mean, have you ever played that game, Brandon?
Yeah, the older ones like Grand Theft Auto 4, like the old school ones, not any of the new ones. I haven't played those.
It's interesting because a friend of mine is actually a digital car addict. If you guys haven't seen his channel, check him out. He does is play Grand Theft Auto on there, and he has in the game he'll have car shows and car meetups and stuff. I think it is like incredible that you can do this kind of stuff. Like I thought it was just nuts. But this again, this is on a game. This is on a game.
Yeah, car meets in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing that's funny is that in real life he owns a Viper, a C7 ZR1, a TRX. He owns like cool cars in real life too. So you could do a car show digitally or in real life. I think it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. 10 seconds Z06. That's what I was talking about. Imagine like a lot of the stuff that you do in the in Grand Theft Auto is, kind of sleazy stuff. So, I mean, you guys could probably get where I'm going with this, but you got these graphics that look real and you got the sleazy opportunities. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You see, Robert Brunn made a good point about the C9 test mules. Like that was probably the first thing that we saw for the CA, right? With the test mules. And if we haven't seen anything like that, there's nothing coming out.
Well,
it was 2 years of we saw test mules, people were doing renderings, like it was 2 full years. So it's a full year before they did the announcement in July of 2019. So it was a full year. So we're not even close, man. Well, and they got so much money to recoup on the ZR1.
I mean, there's so many reasons why this isn't happening, but I'm not so much focused on the fact that this could be happening or not happening as I am the greed, the lies, and the deception of the dealership that's doing this, because they're going to be making thousands upon thousands, maybe even millions of dollars on people who are coming in, putting down a deposit on the next Corvette because they want to be one of the first, and they're not going to see this car for probably 5 years. Like, what do you put money down for? So,
and I joked when we finally got our stuff, we were doing all the money changing hands and everything for our cars. I joked, I told Brandon, I'm going to tell him, hey, you've had my $1,000 for 4 years now. It should be more like $1,500 with interest. So like, I should get an extra $500. You've been holding my money with interest for 4 years. It used
to actually be that way. I remember, where was that at? This was years ago. I put a deposit down on something and it ended up not panning out. And when they refunded me plus interest. And it was like, instead of 1,000, it was like 1,200 and some change. And this is how it used to be. So again, like I said in that video I did with Joe and the whole C8 ZR1 debacle, it used to be different. Dealers used to actually care about you, not your money. And it has definitely changed over the last 5 to 10 years.
But also too, I feel like in their defense a little bit, I think customers have changed a little bit too. Like the world now is full of scams. And so like, they're like, well, if there's so much scamming going on, we're going to scam too as well. And so it's like everybody gets in this scam mentality and it's hard to get out of, because my whole life I've dealt with one good dealer, and that was Criswell when I bought my Z06. Every other dealer I've ever had experience with has screwed me in some way, form, or fashion. I may not have known it at the time, but I found out later. Criswell's the only one that didn't do that.
I
actually
haven't
got the
personally
honor
had
something.
an experience with Criswell yet, but I've heard nothing but good things. So I'm assuming they're a pretty up and up dealership. But it is a shame that it has to be like this. I mean,
It is.
but
It is.
you're not wrong, Brandon. I think the biggest thing that has changed, and I've actually heard this from a salesman's mouth, the biggest thing that's changed with us is that we're more informed now too. So we can go into a dealership and say, hey, you're asking $35,000 for that car, but the blue book's only 24. Like, why is there so much? Like, we have access to tools we didn't have access to not that long ago. So we're more educated going into it. So that when you're more educated, that immediately puts almost a feeling of cockiness on the table. And if the dealership, of course, if the salesman feels that you're being cocky with him, he's going to be cocky right back. And then things are just going to escalate. But some of these things, like this dealership thing that we're going to talk about here in a second, has escalated to the point where they're taking money knowing that this car is not coming, and they're doing it to make money off of you, but they're doing it unprovoked. Like, you haven't done anything to this point to make them do this. So that's where this becomes a problem. We're going to talk more about this in a second, but guys, I want to get, first off, we got almost 200 people watching. Let's smash the thumbs up button. Let's get to 200 thumbs ups by 8 o'clock, which is 13 minutes from now. Thumbs ups really help the channel. We're going to be discussing all kinds of greedy dealership stuff here today. We're going to also be discussing some overall General Motors good things for once. And we're going to be doing a giveaway, 2 giveaways, technically. So the first one is going to be another set of scrape armor radiator grill guards for the side intakes on the wide body cars. So if you guys didn't win it last time, I know Larry Anthony did. I'm not sure if he's in here, but if you didn't win last time and you want to try again, I have another set. So if you want to try to get these guys, these will be given away at the end of the show tonight. So enter to win the radiator grill guards tonight. And as you guys can see right here, the sponsor of the month is E5 Wheels. So they're going to be giving away a $500 gift card towards their wheels that will be given away at the end of the month. So tonight, I'm giving away radiator grill guards from Scrape Armor. E5 $500 gift certificate will be given away at the end of January. They are the sponsor for the channel this month. And if you guys haven't checked out their stuff, I'm going to show it to you here in a second, because they have really cool wheels for the C6, C7, and C8. They're working on bringing out ZR1 or Z06 wheels. But for right now, the C8 wheels are limited to the Stingray only. They have a really nice design set up for these things. I've seen a bunch of these in person. They look great on the C7s as well. But
yeah,
They're usually at Carlisle too.
yeah, they're at Carlisle every year. They're at Carlisle, and they might be at the Bash as well. They were last year. So
yeah, Dante's a cool guy too.
yes, he is.
Yeah, he's really cool.
So here we go. This is the E5 Wheels website. So these are the wheel options we got. We got Daytona, and of course, silver, bronze, black. Sebring, silver, bronze, black. And Speedway. So what they try to do with their wheel setup here is maintain simplicity. So you got three choices here. You got the Speedway, which is very reminiscent of the C8 Z06 wheel. You got the Sebring, which is very reminiscent of a C7 ZR1 wheel. And then you got the Daytona, which is actually pretty similar looking to the wheel that I have, and David has as well from Forge Work.
Yep.
So their wheels are really nice looking, well made, and they're not going to break the bank. You can win $500 gift card towards this, or the Scrape Armor radiator grill guards. And as usual, guys, if you are a member of the channel, I'm going to need you to type number 1 in the chat. You're going to get your free entry. I almost don't want to, because it really makes me look like an idiot. And
Oh no, I love it.
I was going to say, I'm okay with it as far as like behind the scenes stuff, but this one is just like, this one really takes it to the next level. So if you guys want to see just how dumb I can be behind the scenes, this will be a good video for it. So yeah. Yeah, so
And I'm in for 100 right off the bat, Justin.
Oh man, David again rocking the $100.
Yeah.
So
are you after the gift card or the side grills?
I want the grill guards for the side.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So-
I want the,
what I'm gonna do, guys, is the entries tonight only. the entries for the scrape armor radiator grill guard and the E5 wheels will carry over. So if you want to get in to win the grill guards or the wheels, tonight's giveaway, if you enter, you'll be carried over. If you don't win the grill guards, you'll be carried over for the E5 wheels at the end of the month. Real quick, I wanted to answer a question I got up here. Wheeler O'Hara said, "Hey Justin, before you upgraded to your newest Rev 3 of Soul Sport Cats, did you have O2 extenders?" No, I did not. Never had O2 extenders, but I know someone who did. Someone I know did, and they were still getting a check engine light, so that did not solve the issue. Oh, it was Alex, actually. David. He had he had the O2 extenders, those angled ones that attempted to get rid of O2 or check engine lights. It did not work. So if that's why you're asking, Wheeler, it won't work.
That's right.
Are you still code free, Justin, for the new ones?
I am.
Yeah.
Now in their defense, or my defense, I guess, I've put maybe 20 miles on the car since I installed those. So it's not a great test subject yet, but you know, the weather being the way it is, can't really help it. We got 200 people watching, guys. 92 thumbs up. So let's get that up to 100 by 8 o'clock and then 200 by 8:30. That'd be great. I'm going to type in some entries here because I do want to make sure all of you guys get your free entry. If you haven't become a member yet, again, I'm going to put the link in here again just because I still have it in my clipboard. Click on that link. $4.99 will get you a free entry. Welcome, Bill Miller. Thank you for joining. You're going to get yourself a free entry just because you did that. So
there you go.
There we go.
LT Powered says that we should have advertised it. You didn't know it was going to happen, but you should have the C10 reveal and not say that it was the truck.
Yeah. You know what's funny, really David? Fun. I was gonna mention that too because you did something similar with the electric Corvette, and it was the little toy car. I thought the same thing. Instead of the C9, so you know what, guys? I skipped the C9 and went straight to the C10.
We went straight to the C10.
Yep.
LT4 Powered just put us funny.
You should take deposits, David. Do like a dealer.
Deposits on the C10. Yeah.
Everybody send them your deposits.
I told King, I was like, I'll show him the big block.
Even if you got 20 people to give you $1,000, you sat on that for literally probably 10 to 15 years. Imagine the amount of interest you would earn just in that while they're waiting for the C10. And then after, even when the C10 finally comes out, be like, oh, you know what, guys, we had too much. Here's your money back. Here's your $1,000 back. Meanwhile, your money back. Yeah, you just made $1 million, but oh well.
Yep. Well, you know, and when Brandon said about Criswell, like, I'm not even kidding you, man. The 23 to 24, it went up like $5,000 base price on the MSRP, and we had already ordered, but like we caught the cycle for the next model year, and they didn't even charge us the $5,000 difference on the MSRP change. And like, what dealership does that?
That's the way. That's really the way it should be. Yeah, and that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have to ask for stuff like that.
No. They were like, oh, hey, by the way, blah, blah, blah. It went up, but your order went in August, and they changed it over to September, so don't worry about it. We got you.
Well, the thing is, if the manufacturers enforced MSRP, then none of this stuff would be a problem. You know, they wouldn't be doing all this, like, gouging crap and these tricks and all these things that they do. If they knew what the price was going to be in the car, they would treat everybody equally, and that's the way it should be. But it's just not like that. That's one good thing, not to, like, I know you guys hear me talk about Tesla sometimes, but one good thing I do like about Tesla is you don't worry about markups.
Yep.
You order your car, you pay the price, everyone pays the same. It may change from time to time, like a month later, but at least what you're paying at that day is going to be the same as someone else. And I think that's fair.
The video I did with Joe, I got an unbelievable amount of people saying that exact same thing, Brandon. They wanted GM to adopt the Tesla model. And apparently Ford is kicking around the idea of doing it too. And if they do, that is going to eliminate a lot of this dealership greed. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think we should be looking at doing that.
You know, I was just going to say that because I just bought that pickup truck, and the guy who I would deal with basically is now the GM of the place. But when I first started dealing with him like 20 years ago, he was one of the salesmen. But this guy was telling me that Ford's going to go to a similar model like that, or they're talking about it, and they're like actually putting it out to the dealership. But they were the same way. Like, we agreed on a price over the phone and whatever else. I went in the next day and they found out there were more incentives on the truck than they had told me. And he came out and was like, oh, Harry, you're going to save another $2,500 in incentives. Same thing. That dealership's treated me great. And I've been with them for 20 years.
Yep.
And if the dealers aren't making enough money on these cars at MSRP, then the MSRP needs to be higher so that they can make the money, so they don't try to screw the consumer.
See,
That's the
that's the problem though, Brandon, is it's never enough. It is never enough.
Yeah.
Even if they were making 50 grand on each car, okay, that's 50 grand. Great. I can mark this thing up on another 150 and make 200. You know what I mean? And it's all greed.
I was talking with Alex about this when I was at his house in Orlando this past week. As long as they're allowed to do it, somebody will pay it.
Yep.
Somebody. And they don't care because somebody will pay it.
Yep. And that's ultimately the biggest problem here, is that GM, like it or not, GM is allowing them to do this, because I've racked my brain every which way I possibly can. And it all comes back to GM, because the dealerships are technically separate franchises or whatever. So you got, Bob Smith dealership, who GM cannot physically tell Bob Smith what to charge for that car. So technically Bob Smith is allowed to charge 150 over if he wants to, but GM frowns upon it, we'll say. They would recommend you didn't do that, because the MSRP stands for manufacturer, that's what their recommendation is on the price. That doesn't mean you have to sell it at that price. Now, with that said, they frown upon it, and GM could, and ultimately is the only one who could stop it. Because if they wanted this to stop, they could pull allocations, they could send letters. Right. No, you can't force the dealership to stop doing this. That's the problem. They can't. But they can remove allocations. And they talked about doing that at one point and never did it. So these dealerships that are charging over MSRP, like what they were doing with Joe, or what they're doing even in this situation that we're going to talk about tonight,
right? They
should get allocations pulled. And if GM cared, they would be doing something about this, which is why I have to suspect that somehow either GM's hands are tied legally, or somehow they're getting some sort of kickback from this. They're benefiting in some way, shape, or form when a car sells for over MSRP, or they're legally bound. They can't do anything legally. I don't know. I do want to acknowledge a new member of the channel here. Who did we get? Gary Phelps is now a loyal HPO fan alongside Bill Miller tonight. And we also got a super chat from Seawolf Z06. I'll put him in. That's pretty close to $30. I don't know. I can't do the conversion off the top. Actually, no, that would be closer to 20. So I'll put you in for 2 entries, Seawolf. Plus, I believe you were also a member. Let me see here.
And
yeah, you are. So you actually get 3 entries. Go ahead, Brandon.
In the comments, Nat was talking about how not only that, but then on, in 2023 with the Z06, GM was saying if you sell your car within 6 months, then you are losing your warranty. So you pay over MSRP. Now you can't sell the car. So you're getting double effed basically by not only GM, but the dealer as well. And so that's a good point, Nat.
See, now they brought that out as a fix for over MSRP charges. I remember whenever they announced this, I was like, how does this fix over? Like, this isn't going to stop any dealership from charging over MSRP. All it's going to do is make sure that if you paid 50K over, that you can't take the car and sell it for 100K over. But you already paid over. Like, it actually screwed the buyer, not the seller, which is totally the opposite of what they should have been doing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm the kind of person who is absolutely fine with, if I go to buy the ZR1 and some dealership magically gives it to me at MSRP, I'm okay. I'm the guy that I'll sign a paper. I'll tell you, I won't sell that car for the first year. I don't care. I'll sign the paper. If you give it to me at MSRP, I will promise you I'm not selling it for over MSRP within the first year. And after the first year, odds are good it won't be worth over MSRP anyway. We've already seen that game roll out. Yeah. But if you're going to be honest with me, I will be honest with you right back, because this is the dealership's argument a lot is, well, why should I sell it to you for MSRP when you're going to turn around and sell it for over? No, I'm not. And if you don't believe me, give me a piece of paper. I'll sign it. Like, I don't plan on selling the car, and most of you guys don't. You want to buy a ZR1 at MSRP or the Z06 at MSRP, you weren't going to just go and flip it. Most people don't want to do that kind of stuff. That's a lot of work.
Well, and it's this whole thing of like people, like when I was talking with Alex, people are just willing to do it. Jessica said like we should laugh at people that paid 50 over. Most of us do. But there's always that one guy that has FU money that just doesn't care, or that one lady that has FU money and she's like, oh, 100K over?
See,
sure.
I will never, ever, ever laugh at somebody who pays over MSRP. If you want that car that badly, or if you need that car that badly, I made a video about this because I had a lot of subscribers reach out to me with the Z06 and flat out ask me, hey, would you pay over for this car? And I reply back every time, no, not unless you have a reason to. Are you a YouTuber, an influencer of some kind who can make money? You'll make this money back by having it early? Then yeah, consider it. But almost all of them would reply back to me and say that they were old enough that this might be their last Corvette. How do you say no to that? So if this is your last,
you got it, and it's your last one, and you got that money.
Yeah. I'm not going to say, yeah, go do it definitely, brother. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you no, because this might be your last Corvette to enjoy. Get every single day you can with it. So this is why I'm saying there's always a reason to pay over MSRP if you want to go that route. But at the same time, the normal buyer, you don't have to pay over MSRP. That's ultimately what we're talking about with this stuff. But this is actually kind of somewhat off the topic of what we're going to be discussing tonight, because of a dealership that's actually in Florida. Let's see, we got one's in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, they're all in Florida. So Delray Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Lauderhill. This is something that's been brought to my attention by 2 different subscribers of mine. And you know what? We're just going to talk about it now because we're already there. And this has actually been brought up now, even on the Corvette forum. This is an email blast that was sent out from Graco Chevrolet, again in Florida, talking about 3 locations that they have that are going to be selling the brand new 2027 Chevrolet Corvette C9. The C9, according to this dealership, is coming in 2027. Now, there is so much wrong with this. I almost don't even know where to begin. So, I mentioned this very, very briefly to David before we got on the live here. And his first remark was the same as mine. He said, well, what about the ZR1? Exactly. We haven't even gotten the performance variants of the C8 yet. There's at least 2, possibly 3 more coming. You're not going to jam those into the next year and a half, and then bam, here's the C9. It's not going to work that way. But what is going to happen here is this email blast was sent out to all their customers. So, I mean, you're probably talking about hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
And if they are really, really interested in being on the cutting edge of the new Corvette, which, let's be honest, after the C8 Corvette, who wouldn't be? They're all going to want it ASAP. They're going to go down to this dealership, throw down $1,000, and they're not going to see that car for probably 4 to 5 years, maybe 6, depending on how long this thing takes. But they're putting it in writing. It is literally right there. Brand new 2027 Corvette C9. It's not even
with a cover over it. Not even like a picture of a C8 that's like, oops, we typed the wrong number. Literally a cover over it. So you're like, yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing is, like, the car that it's covering, it doesn't even look like a sports car. It looks like a crossover SUV. Like
it looks like a Model 3 is what it looks like.
Yeah,
it looks like a Tesla Model 3.
It's poorly done across the board, so you can tell this was just a real quick idea for a cash grab. And I bet you, they're sitting on probably millions of dollars by the time this is all said and done of people who are putting in deposits for this, and they will be sitting on that millions of dollars for 5 years. So that's 5 years of interest.
I disagree. I think GM's going to shut this down. And Nat made this point, actually, which is a really good point as well, going back to what he said earlier. But they have agreements with GM. So if they're announcing this car, remember what happened to Eddie X when he announced the specs of the Zero, when nothing actually happened, but they could have sued him. GM, they're technically announcing a car that doesn't, quote unquote, exist, and trying to sell that vehicle. I don't see how that could be legal with GM through their franchise contracts, going back to what Nat said.
This has been going on now since what day did that email come out? That was the 20.
They're going to get sued.
It was on either January 1st or January 2nd. So it's been out for 4 or 5 days now. And yeah, I honestly, based on what I'm seeing here, not only should they be sued, or not necessarily sued, but this should be shut down, and they should have to refund every penny plus whatever tiny little bit of interest was gained in those couple days. Even if it's $1,000.01, they should have to give every penny back, because this is unbelievable business practice here. Like they're flat out lying.
Right.
I mean, you can see.
If I were GM, I would take all their allocations, like what we were talking about earlier.
That's
Take every
what I mean. Like
allocation
there
for a
has to
Corvette,
be
gone.
some sort of punishment
Exactly.
for this, or it's going to continue to happen. I mean, they say here up the top, the power of three. You got 3 guys up there. Apparently, they run the 3 different dealerships. The power of 3, 3 locations, 3 times the allocation. Like they're pumping this thing up to sound like not only is the C9 coming, but they're going to have a ton of allocations on this thing, and it's coming in a year and a half. Like what? No, it's not. It can't.
I was just gonna say the same thing Brandon said. Like there has to be, because I mean, if you were that dealer that leaked specs, like you got a dealer and you got the inside information, and you leaked the specs on the ZR1 before GM did, like you're toast. So
Well-
there should be something on this that they're like, you know what, you have done something that is unethical at this point. I
Yeah.
mean, borderline illegal, whatever, but definitely unethical at this point. And that's just a bad look for the brand in general. So GM has to have power to kind of, make a phone call and start talking to people about this, because it's just not even right.
I'm going to email them tonight and say, prove to me that the C9 is coming out in 2027, and I will gladly send you 1,000, 5,000 if you honor MSRP on that vehicle. I would do it in 10 seconds if you can prove to me that this car is coming out in 2027, and you know they're not going to be able to do that. If we
No.
all send them
You
emails
should
saying
do
the same
that,
thing,
actually, Brandon. You should
You know
do
what?
that.
I can already tell you what's going to happen if you do that, Brandon. It's gonna
What?
they're just
No
going
reply?
to they're going to ignore you, because you can't when you talk like detail specific to almost any dealer out, they shut down. It's like they don't want to hear
That's
that.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
that is true.
This makes me so mad. Like I'm getting like visibly angry
I know.
just looking
I
at that
know.
ad.
It's really, and that's the thing, is like I want to bring this to people's attention. I just like I've talked about in previous videos, I want to make sure that if you don't have a voice, that I can be the voice for you, because this is ultimately hurting the Corvette community. All of you guys are going to be affected. I'm going to be affected. Brandon and David, we're all affected by this. So if you have an interest in the Corvette, this affects you, because this is not something that's just going to disappear overnight. Just because this one dealership is doing it, I would not be surprised if this kind of thing pops up all over the place, especially if this doesn't get shut down. Don't be surprised if this doesn't get shut down, that every dealership doesn't pick up this same kind of scummy attitude.
You should do a video on this, Justin. Like put a video, call them out. I don't know, like I know legally that might be something that would be kind of hairy to do.
Yeah.
But as far as with your following and whatnot, you would have the power to shut this down single-handedly. But like I said, the only bad thing would be the slander, and like they could come at you legally.
Well, it's not
But that being
slander, because
said-
they put it out there. It's just facts. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
calling to inquire
See,
about your ad.
And David and Brandon, I as much as I would love to say that it is that cut and dry, unfortunately, I don't want to get into details, but you guys know that it's not. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, is ultimately anybody can sue anybody nowadays for whatever they want. And
That's
Yeah.
fair.
if you have more money than I do and you decide you want to sue me, you can tie me up to the point where I'm out of money and I have no legal, I can't do anything. Like even if I'm 100% right, you decide you sue me and you tie me up and my money's gone, my time's gone, like I'm done.
Yeah.
And also the
No, you're
YouTube
right.
community guidelines. I don't know if there's something, you know more about that than I do. I don't know if there's something against, because you would effectively be calling out a dealer basically. And that's kind of a gray area because it could be viewed as an attack, I guess. So that would be the only other thing I'd be concerned about. But there's
And
got to be
see,
some recourse.
I don't necessarily want to call them out, but because I mean, as far as I know, they have not wronged anybody that I know of. And that's why I want anybody out there who has a situation where they've signed documents that have then been ignored after the fact. That's the stuff I want to hear about, because if they're ignoring signed contracts, that's a problem. If you go in and you get some salesman to say, "Oh yeah, we'll sell you that car for MSRP," and then they change their mind later, that's not the same thing. You're talking about a guy who probably should have never said that to begin with, and it's all hearsay. So it's like, did that even really happen? I don't know. But if you have it in signed documentation form and then they decide to change their mind later, that's a different story. I want to hear from you. These guys doing what they're doing down in Florida, is it scummy? Yes. Is it disgusting? Yes. But they have, as far as I know, they have 0 people that have signed up for that. Now, I know better at this point, but I have not heard personally from anybody who has signed up to get the new 2027 C9 Corvette, which is just, it makes me, just like Brandon said, it makes me disgusted to even say those words.
Do we have any
we know.
lawyers in the comments? I know we have a lot of doctors in the comments. Is anybody a lawyer there that could chime in some legalities with
Gordon
this?
Cruz is an attorney.
He is? Okay. I
Yeah.
wonder, I think, did he post something a little bit ago? I can't remember. I felt like he had a comment.
I know he's an attorney. I think I don't know. I don't know. I think he's family attorney is his specialty, but he's still an attorney.
Is
it Florida? You know what state?
Yeah, he lives in San Diego.
Oh,
San Diego.
But still,
okay.
Yeah, Bill Miller has a good point here, though. He says that dealership's not even in the top 20 for Corvette sales, and this is the thing, Bill. They specifically said they want to change that.
Right.
That's why they're doing this. They're trying to change it. Now, Professor Corvette says, has anybody verified the source that submitted that ad? This is actually the second thing. On the Corvette forum here, it's posted by somebody named Reef, but one of my subscribers actually sent this to me too, because he's from Florida and actually got this email. And he sent it to me. He's like, are we getting a C9 Corvette? And I said, no. Is that real? And he's like, and he sent it to me, his actual inbox. And I was like, what the heck is going on? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So another thing is, though, I don't want to name this person, but I got a text message from him saying that he actually talked to the dealership, the manager down there. And yeah, according to this manager, this is real. And not only that, they are not planning on selling this car at MSRP. They already voiced the fact that this car will not be MSRP. So not only are they lying about the car coming, but they're also going to be charging more. So I don't think the
that makes it worse. I was okay with it with the C9 list. I was not okay with it with the 2027. That's a flat out lie. And I'm definitely not okay with above MSRP on a list for a 2027 vehicle that doesn't exist.
Now, here's another layer to this. This thing does not actually say how much you have to put down. So I'm just assuming it's $1,000. It could be more, because if you guys remember when Sioka did the list for the Z06, it was $5,000.
What was ours? Was $1,000, right, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm gonna email them tonight. I'll get back with you, Justin, later and see what they say with the cost is to get on that.
Yeah,
I don't want to speculate too much on the price, but I would say it's probably at least $1,000 if I had to guess. But Brandon, when you let me know if it ends up being more than $1,000,
I bet it's $5,000 or something. I bet it's more.
I was going to say, because it's
like at what level? Grab, it's more.
At what level does the scumminess stop? I mean, if you're going this far, you might as well make it. You know what? Let's make it $10,000. You know.
Well, and again, like $5,000 versus $1,000. If you really want on that list, you put $5,000 down. They're looking at it from the interest standpoint, right? Like eventually, you're either going to, like Bill said, you're going to forget about your money. Or
That's
you're going
exactly
to ask
it.
for it back later,
That's exactly
but you're going to be earning interest at 5 times the rate because you've got 5 times the initial deposit. They don't care at that point if that's really what they're after. They're going to say 5 easy because you know.
Yeah, they double their money. 5 years at $5,000 compound interest. They probably have $10,000 there, depending on how they invest it. They double their money, and then there's no harm, no foul, and that what they view. They just give you your money back.
They give you your money back, exactly.
But
not with interest.
Yeah.
See, now here's the other thing, guys. Even for legit dealerships like Sioka, they took $5,000 deposit at 5,000 orders. So they right there. If you do the simple math, which I say is simple, but I use the calculator, that's $25 million. $25 million that they made on a car that they know they're only going to be able to probably get 200 of those orders fulfilled.
Right.
And they made $25,000 on those orders, and all that's sitting there for years earning interest. I just talked to a subscriber of mine who I'm going to get, basically help him get his money back, but he's been trying to get his money back from Sioka with just an email. He didn't really go too far with it, but he's still on that list. And it's been 2 years. So, I mean, just his I think his was $2,000. But just his money alone is $2,000 for the last 2 years. That's just one guy.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you the math when you start putting it up to scale is absolutely staggering. Brandon and I have had this conversation about like when Chris Wells told everybody you can get them at MSRP, and we bought our Z06s at MSRP, and they ever selling Stingrays at MSRP. They were giving up $25,000 to $50,000 a car for 200 cars. You start doing the math. And it adds up real fast that they're doing that instead of taking that money grab when they could have taken the money grab. You know what I mean? So we talked about the millions that they left on the table, just not taking markups. It's crazy.
But the thing is the millions they left on the table will absolutely come back to them in the future. Whereas the people who are grabbing the millions right now, those loyal customers, they're out. They're never coming back to you.
I'll buy from them.
Yep.
From here on out, every Corvette I buy will be from them.
Yep.
And David, like even your deposit on the ZR1, they it sounded like they were doing you pretty right on that as well, right?
They did,
It
yeah.
wasn't
And that's
that
the thing,
bad.
that's the thing, and that's it. Like Brandon said, every Corvette I ever buy from now on until the day I die, I'm buying from Chriswell because of the way they treated me, and that's it. And the MSRP thing was great, but like you said, Justin, that's a really good point. Like the dealerships that are making these big, scams, or they're making 100K over, there's going to be that handful of people that don't care, and but your actual everyday Corvette owner, your enthusiast, is going to be like, screw this, I'm done with this.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And that's I've been saying that since this whole thing started in 2020 with charging over MSRP. I said every one of you guys out there that some of these guys will have lists, just thousands of people deep, of loyal customers who have bought every car from you. Every car they've ever owned, they've bought from you. You do this one time to them, force them to pay over MSRP. They're never coming back. And I'm one of them. I won't ever go to a dealership like that ever again. There's no point. If you don't have any loyalty to me, why do I have any to you? I'm moving on to the next thing.
Well, and short of that, the working with the Ford dealership, I've been with that guy. I've been with that guy 20 years, and that's why we have that relationship. But if he leaves and it goes to the regular thing, my dad bought, my family bought, everybody bought. If I get treated just like every or they want more of MSRP for something or a truck or whatever, I'm out. I'm done. But again, that's how you keep people, man. And like you said, Justin, you'll get rewarded because more people will come to your dealership, more people will buy stuff, you'll get more allocations, you'll move more units, everybody's happy.
Yep. 10 Seconds Z06 said that at Fioca it was more than 5,000 deposits. He was number 6,000 and something, and I wired the money on day one. They said they had more than 10,000 people sending deposits by the second day. Now, I know they did shut off that list at some point, so I don't want to make this a video about Fioca because I know Fioca does their business on an up and up kind of way, but at the same time, even up and up, they accepted that many orders knowing they're only going to fill maybe 300 of those. And honestly, I don't even think they did. I think the first year, I think they only filled it was less than 100, I'm pretty sure. So all of that money, I did the math on 5,000. If it was actually 10,000, you're talking $50 million. And Bill just did the math real quick. 1.2 million at 5% interest is an additional 60K just in interest. And that's 1 million. Wow. So do that at 50.
Yeah,
they made a lot of money.
When you start scaling it up, it gets crazy. Because Brandon and I have done some of this math before. It gets really crazy. But we did the same thing. Brandon and I, they announced it on Thursday night. We were both at work, July of 2019. I don't remember what the date was, but it was a Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And Brandon and I both called as soon as the dealership opened Friday morning at 9 a.m. And we both and when we called at 9 a.m. right after they ordered, we were already 250 or 230 something. And it was had literally just opened. And they were already at 230 something orders.
Well, the way that was set up, and this is not a negative on Fioca because nobody really fully understood how many people were going to be beating down the doors for a C8Z06. That car had an unbelievable turnout. And what ended up happening was I know Shane's not in here tonight, but he spent the night overnight at a dealership. I think it was McMulkin, to get an eray, to get on the top. He ended up being, I think, number 12 or something. But he had to spend the night outside of the freaking dealership to get it. And it's like the people at Fioca were doing the same thing. They were taking these deposits in person and over the phone. So I can't even begin to imagine how intense and crazy that was on day one. You have all these people in front of you that have spent the night outside, and then you got the phones are ringing off the hook. You got the orders coming in from the internet.
Well,
I'm sure it got crazy.
I will confirm for you, Justin. So I tried to get on the E-Ray list at Chriswell through the same, my guy as soon as they were the next day, but I didn't call right away. I was like, yeah, I'll call like lunchtime or whatever. By the afternoon, okay, the first day they were taking orders, by the afternoon, Chriswell closed the list.
Yeah.
And my dealer or my salesman, Anthony, he's like, yeah, he's like, we closed that list. He's like, we're not even going to end up delivering all the ones we took reservations for. He said, but we closed it in less than a day.
See,
well, that's honorable.
I was just going to say that's
Yep.
how it should be, because they know you're not, if you're getting more than 300 orders, you're not going to fulfill those in a year. So there's no
Yep.
point in sitting on this money unless, of course, you want the interest, which,
Yeah.
by itself,
I call it lunchtime.
by itself, that's not even necessarily a bad thing. Okay. So I'm making this sound like it's a bad thing, but if you want to do it business wise and on the up and up, you let people know this. Okay. Hey, we have 5,000 spots. I'm going to be honest with you. Your number's pretty high. You're 4,300. You're probably not going to see this car for 3 years. If you still want to get on the list, you can absolutely do it. But I gotta tell you, if you do jump on this list, that $1,000 you're about to give me, we do earn interest on. It's totally refundable. You'll get your full $1,000 back if you want to in the future. But if you leave that in there for 2 years, I earn interest on it.
And I'm honestly
That's
okay
simple.
with that.
And now all of a sudden it's not scummy.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. Even if you're earning interest on my, I'm okay with that. If because I wanted.
If you're upfront and honest about it.
Yeah, and they were upfront and honest about everything. We got it in writing that our deposit was completely refundable.
Yeah.
Like we got everything up. I mean, they were up and up on everything. And even the ZR1 list, the same thing. Like, they told me I'm up in the 200s, but they were like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. 25 model year, forget it. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to make enough. 26, you're probably not. He said, you're probably going to be first part of 27. So they were honest with me up front on the deposit for the ZR1 to say, hey, it's going to be at least 2 years, man. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I know you guys did me straight on the Z06. I know you're going to take care of me on the ZR1. We're good to go.
And that makes me still going back to what we were talking about over the MSRP thing and this dealer. It wouldn't make me so mad if this was like a Ferrari or Lambo, or like if you're in one of those kind of cars. But the Corvette is the American dream car. It's the blue collar car. It always has been. It's supposed to be the obtainable sports car for the guy that works hard his whole life, does well. Like that's the whole premise of the Corvette. And you take that away when you start charging 250 or 100 grand over, 50 grand over, whatever it might be on that car. That makes me so mad, because that's what the Corvette is built on, and what it was built for was for the blue collar American. And then you take that away from them and you put it back into the Ferrari guys. I don't care about the Ferrari guys. I don't care about any of that. I want the car that I grew up seeing on my posters, and you need to allow me to be able to have that vehicle,
So what you're saying, Brandon, I personally totally agree with, but let's call the C8 Corvette and on what it really is. At this point, it has graduated past what the Corvette has been in the past. So while I wish it still was that way, Brandon, it's not. It is. That's now, it has moved into what I would, without a doubt, call the supercar territory. I mean, the C8 Z06, I can't tell you, I have had an endless amount of people, subscribers, send me pictures of their garage. Amazing looking garages. C8 Z06. The most recent one was a C8 Z06 sitting beside a Lamborghini Huracan Performante, sitting beside a Ferrari 458, sitting beside a Ferrari 88 or 488, sitting beside a Ferrari SF90. And they all said the same thing. They'll take a picture of this amazing garage and they'll say, the Z06 is my favorite. And it's like,
well, and
but
Brandon,
you can
what
be a
you said,
supercar and you don't have to cost. That's the whole premise, though. You can be a supercar, but not cost as much of a supercar. And so that's in that realm. I feel like the C8 Z06 still is in that category, because it is a supercar, but it doesn't have that price tag, so
And
it's
that's
still available to
yes.
not average, but you have to be the top 10% of Americans earners, typically for a C8 Z06. But that being said, it's still obtainable, and that premise is still there, but it is stretching further and further away from that. More expensive, like the ZR1, like that's definitely getting that territory.
And I'm going to tell you though, Brandon, like I'm with you on this, Brandon, but I'm also going to counterpoint you that the base price on a Z06 now is what, 120, basically 119, somewhere around there.
I think it's 112.
Okay, 112. Okay, the C6 Z06, fully decked out, right? At that time was probably the same amount per dollar for inflationary spending as the 112 you're getting. The ZR1 was way above that. The ZR1 was 120 grand for the C6. Now you've got the C7 Z06, which was specced out really nicely, damn near 100K.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of what you're
still think it falls.
A lot of what you're seeing,
rate, that's still 60 something thousand. That's obtainable to most you know, at least
Right.
the average earners of Americans, it's still obtainable. So that's why the Stingray fits in that category. So the Corvette nameplate still signifies
Still
that.
fits exactly.
But it goes up if the guys that have the money, that have the means, that want the
Right.
baddest can still get it. But the guys that don't can still get a Stingray and
Yeah.
still get most of that performance. And
Exactly.
that's the
Right.
brand
And that's
image.
the thing I think has grown most in the brand is that per dollar spent, right? Like now, your horsepower per dollar back then may have been this much. Your investment that you're going to pay for a Z06, you get supercar numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you get GT3 RS kind of numbers. You get Ferrari numbers. Lambo. You're not spending $500,000. You're spending 112 grand, and you're getting these things. It's insane, man.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. That the price is starting to get fat. Like
It is.
Well, the ZR1 is not going to be cheap.
A good
not.
portion.
It's going to be
A good portion of what you're saying, guys, is legit, David, especially with the inflation. People have done the math showing the inflation between the C7 and the C8 and noting that the price is almost the same minus inflation. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but at the same time, these prices are getting really high. I mean,
oh yeah,
the C8, actually I wanted to talk about this too. The C8 ZR1, guys, Brandon, David, off the top of your heads, how much have I been saying this car is going to start at?
200.
190.
190 to 200. Eddie X just put out a video on Instagram talking about how he thinks this car is going to start at 200. I've been saying it since the day they announced this car was going to have 1,000 horsepower. I think it's going to start at about 200 grand before options, and you're going to max that baby out. It's going to get real close to 300. No, if you max it, because you can max out a Z06 in 2023. If you maxed out a Z06, every option, I'm talking every option, you were real close to 200. And that was in 23 whenever the starting price was about $6 grand less than it is now.
A nicely optioned ZR1's easily 270, 280. Easily.
Well, remember the C401 was a $30,000 option, and the car at that time cost 30 grand. So it was double the price of the standard car. And with inflation, that car was extremely expensive. That's why they didn't sell it. It didn't do well. It only sold like a few thousand of them. But
because back then, especially, the Corvette wasn't in the same light it's in now, where I don't talk to many people that wouldn't agree that, this car, that's a supercar now. And most people, even when they hear it start, oh my God, that sounds like a Lamborghini. Yeah, it's a supercar now. But, like it or not, it is.
That's what the C401 was too, because remember, it beat all the Porsches at that time. It was the fastest accelerating car. It was a Dover Kim.
The thing it was missing one thing though, Brandon. One thing.
What's that?
It wasn't a mid-engine. A lot of people who don't really know cars don't view cars as a supercar unless it's mid-engine. And I'm not saying that that's true in the slightest, but I have heard the people discussing cars, and I get stopped all the time with my ZR1. I'm at a gas station. A guy will walk up to me, and this happened actually one time when I was out with Street Speed. We had just gotten done doing some racing. Guy walks up and he's like, "Is that new mid-engine car? Or is that new Corvette with the engine in the rear?" And I'm like, the front end of it's like 10 feet long. Why would you think the engine's in the rear? But these are the guys who don't really know cars, and they're the ones that see the C8 now and they go, "Oh, that looks like a Lamborghini," because it's a mid-engine. So that's what it was missing. If it had had something like that, and back then I think Zora was pushing for a lot of these cars to be mid-engine very early on. If it had this Corvette would be these Corvettes now that we're complaining about being 200 grand. These Corvettes would probably be 500 grand if they had gone mid-engine back then.
He even built some mid-engine prototypes. He sure did.
Yeah.
Yep. I think most of them are going to come out about 250.
They progressed slowly towards the mid-engine. They went from first the engine was in front and the transmission was connected to it in the C4.
Yep.
Then they went to C5, and then the transaxle started moving towards the back. And then everything started to shift as generations went on. And then finally C8, it's like, all right, finally, we're going to take the engine, put it in the back too. And then that was when this all started.
That was one of the reasons they hooked so good, even for what they were, is they had the transaxle over the back, whereas all the other cars had just that live rear axle.
Well, and Chevy chased it from the C5 on, C5, C6, C7. They chased 50-50 weight distribution because that's what Porsche was doing so well. That's why they were killing it on the track so well, because they were 50-50. Chevy chased it for 3 generations, finally got it with the C7, where it was almost perfectly 50-50 because of the transaxle setup. And then right afterwards, they're like, okay, throw that out the window. Let's go 61-39 or whatever it is the C8 is now.
Well, and Taj even said that, you know, part of the reason for all that development into the C8 platform was they had pushed the front engine platform as far as they could possibly push it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
they was, and he said that multiple times over. Taj was like, we took the front engine platform further than anybody else, you know, with especially the 19 ZR1s. He's like, you know, we pushed it to the farthest end of development. We just couldn't do any more with it.
Yeah.
well, look at dragsters. What do dragsters? The biggest advantage to guys that like on the street or track or even just full-fledged dragsters, the biggest thing that they do with the cars to get them quicker and to hook to move is always move the engine back. And that was an
Back.
old like trick on the street too back in the day. You moved your engine 3 or 4 inches back,
Yep.
and you'd have bigger
Cut the
traction. You would
firewall,
outhook
put it 3
somebody.
inches back.
That's been a
Yep.
thing for 50 years.
Yep. Sure has. But they pushed it as far as you could push it. Now the C again, and even just the base Stingray. God, the level of performance you were getting. What the first year was, what, 59,999 or something
Yeah.
like that. For
Under
the first
60
year.
grand.
For,
Yep.
for 60 grand, the amount of performance you were getting with that mid engine. Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah. All right, guys, if you're still in here, please smash the thumbs up button. Let's get to 200 by well, now. Let's get to 200 ASAP here, guys. We got almost 300 people in here watching. Let's get these thumbs ups rolling. Thumbs ups really help the channel. And yeah, we got the awesome giveaway going tonight, guys. Scrape armor radiator grill guards for the side intakes on the wide body car. So Z06 E-Ray. Those will be given away tonight. Every $10 is a donation. $50 or more is double entry. So I got everybody in here so far counted towards this. But if you want to get entered in, now's your time to do it. We're going to be giving this away in roughly 20 minutes. So yeah, let's get these entries in. Now, also, E5 Wheels is the sponsor for tonight. So if you guys want to get a set of wheels for your C8, C7, C6, E5 Wheels is where you want to be. E5, awesome guys over there. As David said earlier, Dante's a great dude. They're usually at Carlisle showing these wheels off. They have a lot of really cool options, and they are working on a set of wheels for the C8, Z06 as well. But for right now, Stingray only for the C8, Z06 for the C7 or C6. Check out these wheels, guys. You can win a $500 gift certificate towards the purchase of these wheels. So even if you don't win the Scrape Armor Radiator Grill Guards, I'm going to keep your name in for the following week. So yeah, definitely get entered if you haven't yet. This is going to be a cool giveaway for this month.
So do you think this year at Carlisle we're going to get anything on the Zora? Because people are talking about in the comments about like when I don't think this year. I don't think at Carlisle this year. I think it's
here's what I have on pretty good authority. And this is another reason why I know it's time for a topic change, but this is another reason why this whole 2027 C9 thing's just not going to freaking happen. Number one, we have the ZR1 to go still. Why would GM even consider cutting it short? The ZR1 is a ridiculously good car. Craziness. Brandon, are you leaving?
Yeah, probably going to go ahead and get off. Get on the road to get to work. So sorry, guys.
No, that's
thanks. Sorry for we got a little heated on that.
Yeah, but, it was a great conversation, Brandon. Go save some lives.
See you guys.
Later, bud.
Right.
So anyway, the ZR1 is a really awesome car. Why would GM consider cutting that whole thing short? Now, with that said, what about the Zora? The Zora hasn't been confirmed yet, but we've seen a car testing that it's basically the Zora. So we pretty much know it's coming.
Right.
Now, outside of the Zora, here's where things get interesting. I've been told that there is a Grand Sport and it's coming right after the ZR1, like on the heels of the ZR1. So we will probably see the ZR1 at Carlisle.
I'm thinking we may have some Grand Sport love at Carlisle, to be honest with you, because the ZR1 will be in its first model year and it'll be out there. So they don't have to do much in the way of development, to be honest with you, as far as testing, whatever. It's all there, right? So I'm thinking we may get some Grand Sport love at Carlisle this year. I'm hoping.
So again, people in the know says ZR1's coming. Right after the ZR1, we were going to be getting a Grand Sport. Now, we've talked about the Grand Sport here before, and I have settled on something David and Brandon actually brought up, was how easy this car would be to make. Number one, like I was saying earlier, they already have the wide body. They already have the suspension. They already have the carbon ceramics if you want to go that route. The thing they didn't have was the special engine that I was always under the impression that this car was going to get. David and Brandon brought it up that all you really have to do is throw a different cam or a slightly different tune on the LT2 engine, push that thing to around 550. Now all of a sudden, you got the engine already. You throw a different cam in it, you got 550 horsepower, and now you got a Grand Sport that's got a little bit more horsepower plus a wide body, and you got all the parts laying around. So this car can easily fit in price-wise between the Stingray and the E-Ray, and it closes a gap that, in my opinion, from the very beginning was way too big, because the Stingray cost, at the time, 60 grand. The E-Ray started at 100. It's like, why didn't it start at 70 or 80?
Exactly. And I'll be honest with you, with everything that's coming out now with, cams, heads for the LT2, whatever, but even better, Lingenfelter's 427. I mean, if you really want to have something that slots in between a Stingray and an E-Ray and then into the Z06, that 427 gives you a little more torque. It gives you more, more horsepower. Maybe that's an option, but like you said, just tune it, cams, and that's it, man. Like, and to be honest with you, a cam and a tune would make that thing a whole different monster. But I think the Lingenfelter motor's 29 grand or something. You wouldn't have to go full on like that, but there's lots of options. And to me, a Grand Sport fits in nice.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like a 427. I think the most logical option is an LT2 with a cam, or even just an LT2 with a beefier tune, because that's going to get you to the point where you're at 500 plus.
You'll be over 500.
You'll be over that Stingray number with a wide body.
Right. Yep. Well, welcome to the channel, Ed. Ed just joined as a member.
Thank you, Ed. I got you in for a free entry. We got you in for a free entry.
I agree. I think we get some Grand Sport love at Carlisle this year. I'm hoping.
I personally don't think we're going to see it at Carlisle, but I think we're going to see a ZR1, and I think we probably by then will already have an announcement of a Grand Sport. I don't think we'll necessarily see it.
That's what I'm hoping. Just some hype around. I don't think we'll get the car yet, but I just some hype around it so we can get some love on it, because that's a very interesting proposition. Because I'm thinking about getting a Stingray and building a track car out of it. Well, basically the Grand Sports were track cars. I mean, instead of buying a Stingray for 60 and putting another 30 or 25 into it to make it a track car, if the Grand Sport comes in at 80, 85, somewhere around there, there's your track car, man. Boom, done.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of different routes they could go with it, but guys, we got 250 people in here watching. Let's smash that thumbs up. I love the conversation tonight. We are definitely getting a little heated, but that happens sometimes. So yeah, I see a lot of you guys saying, don't they already have the LT4 they could use for the Grand Sport? Yeah, they could supercharge the Stingray with a Z06 body and call it a Grand Sport. That's not the Grand Sport. The Grand Sport has never been supercharged or turbocharged, and honestly, it's never really even been more horsepower than the Stingray. But the way we're talking about it here could easily be done with just a different tune and throw 50 extra horsepower at it or so, and done. That car is never going to come out with a supercharger. Don't get your hopes up. It's never going to be turbocharged. It is always going to be all engine. So,
and it doesn't take anything other than a tune and have the Z06 suspension tuning on it with the wide body kit. And that's the recipe, right? That's always been the recipe for the Grand Sport.
Exactly. All right. So Tech Speed in for $30. What's up, guys? Can't wait to see you at Carlisle again. Great convo. Keep it going. Tech Speed, I got you in there for 3 entries on the giveaway tonight. There we go. And yeah, thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. We will definitely see you at Carlisle. The only way I won't be at Carlisle is if I am dead. So you'll know if I'm not there, I'm probably dead. Yeah, so that's another thing I saw pop up here. Lewis asked, will it continue to be mid-engine? I saw somebody actually say that apparently Graco said it was going to be returning to front engine. I can't find any evidence of that, but no, GM invested so much money in the mid-engine platform. This car's
we never go back.
We
never go back.
No, it's never going to.
It'll never go back. Nope.
It's also very, 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 very unlikely we ever get a manual transmission. There had been some rumors swirling about a manual transmission possibly making a debut in the Grand Sport. I could kind of see that happening. There's been no official word of that, though. If it was going to happen at all with a mid-engine car, it would be on the Grand Sport. So
yeah, and that would be amazing.
Ed
Oh my
M,
God.
$100 does get you double entries. Yes.
That would be
It would be
absolutely
pretty cool, but I'll be honest with you. If we don't get a manual transmission in the Grand Sport, we're not getting one, period. Ever
Oh
again.
yeah, I agree.
Ever again.
I mean, that would be the only time you would get it. And if it doesn't come, it's not. And you know, they did so well, like even with the 7-speed and like your ZR1 and like the
Yeah.
last Z06, like with the rev matching and everything. That's about the height, the pinnacle of the manual transmission
Yep.
for GM. I'm with you. If we don't get a manual in the Grand Sport,
It's not happening.
it's all dual clutch
Yep.
from now on out. That's right.
Yep.
100%.
The Grand Sport is the last possible option for a manual, in my opinion.
I agree.
And honestly, this is coming from a guy who loves manual transmissions. I'm a manual transmission guy all day, every day. My ZR1, love the manual transmission. I honestly don't know that I would really love it in a C8. There's just something about the way that car drives that I feel like the dual clutch is a much better fit for. And
I think definitely the Z06 and the ZR1. I think I would really love a manual Grand Sport with with a hopped up LT2. I think I would really like that. Even a Stingray with, you know, I could do, you know, cams heads on my own, like that thing. But like, I think I'd really love that over the dual clutch. Again,
so another
I'm like,
another thing that would really drop the price on the Grand Sport is a manual transmission, because if they got rid of the dual clutch, which is famously pretty expensive, if they put a manual transmission in there instead, now you can easily bring that car out and slot it real easily right between the Stingray and the E-Ray.
well, and I'll tell you, so Foundry 3 in the comments said it's something I was about to actually get ready to say. GM actually patented a drive-by-wire.
I did a video on it 5 years ago. Five years ago I talked about it.
So again, maybe that's the one that ends up in there, guys. I mean,
and see,
you know, but I'm with you. If they don't do it for the Grand Sport, it will never come back.
See, one thing you got to realize though is a lot of patents that GM files never see the light of day. Sure. Just because they filed a patent does not mean that will ever see the light of day. I did a video on that thing. It's been 5 years now. That's because that patent leaked before we even had an official Stingray. So I talked about it and about how it would be pretty cool, but I also mentioned even in that video that the center console of the C8, the one that I had seen at the time, which just so happened to be the right one, was just so high up that it would be weird. Like you're driving along and you're shifting up here. You're like shifting almost at the same level as your steering wheel because of how high that center console is. Now on a 2026 model, supposedly we're getting an interior redesign, which maybe it changes that, but I'm not holding my breath that we're going to get a manual, period. But if we do, it would be on that Grand Sport.
Totally. And again, I wouldn't want a manual in my Z06, and I love manuals. I'm with you. Like I grew up on manuals. I love manuals. It's so much fun, but I don't think it would be the same experience in my Z06 100%.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't.
That's exactly where I'm at with it. The Z06, Ed, thank you for the super chat. I got you in for the radiator grill guards. You actually got 21 entries because you're also a member on the channel. So thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's Chopper Larry. I totally agree. He says a shift by wire would have no soul. It would be really. Have you ever driven a car that's shift by wire? I have not. It has. I only did once, and it was really weird. Like there is a real lack of you can always feel when a clutch is catching. On shift by wire, you really can't. You have to have a pretty good idea of where that thing catches.
And I like the feel of it gating in and out of each gear. Yeah. I love that feel.
Yeah. Porsche they did a return to manuals. Ford has never left it. And I've never been a Ford guy, but that's one thing I can really appreciate with Ford is that they're keeping, number one, the V8, but number two, the manual in their Mustangs, at least for now. And if they continue down that road, they may be the last ones doing it. And if that's the case, if you want a manual, you don't have an option. You're buying a Ford.
Well, and you can't get a manual in the GT500. So
yeah. And for the same reason that GM didn't put one in the C8, exactly. They wanted the best possible 0 to 60 times, the best possible track experience, and like it or not, it doesn't matter how good at shifting a manual transmission you are not out shifting a dual clutch transmission. It's just not possible.
No,
you're never going to do it.
No, I try to break my manuals, and I can't shift as fast as the dual clutch. It's impossible.
Yeah, and Foundry says, keep in mind, Tadges and Crew said they've been working on a C8 for a decade or more. And I know that they were. Initially, they had that engine and transmission in a Holden Commodore.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was, and that was funny because that was way before they'd even figured out what this car is going to look like. They just wanted to make sure that the powertrain was going to hold up. So with that said, I am positive that GM is currently testing a C9 in some way, shape, or form. But we are years away from that. And
100%.
I mean, honestly, some of these test cars we've seen running around that are C8s dressed up in camo cars, those could be C9s. We have absolutely no idea what's underneath that. That's why all the cars, we've seen a bunch of Stingrays and Z06s bodies with the engine glass still covered up. And everybody's like, why are they still covering that up? We've already seen it. Maybe we haven't. And it's very possible those are C9s running around testing. So it doesn't matter, though. Like I said, we are years away from that. The dealership saying that this thing's coming in 27 has no idea what's going on. Or they're doing it on purpose for a money grab. But it's, I don't know.
That's right.
C7 was supposed to be a mid-engine. There was a lot of the Corvettes were supposed to, or not supposed to, but were pushed to be a mid-engine for a long time. Like I said earlier, Zora pushed for the Corvette to be a mid-engine. I want to say he started pushing for that in like C3 territory. I think it was.
It was early. It was earlier. He even built some that like they look crazy now when you look at them. He even built some that you're like, wow, that was awesome. Yep.
Yeah, I saw one
that have some at the museum.
I saw one that actually looked. I think it looked like a C3-ish, but it was a mid-engine. Like the back was
longer.
It was
longer.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think they have one at the museum.
They do. They have a couple of them there.
Yeah. So it's good to see Foundry in here. Foundry's the one who did or who makes those spacers I put on Nate's car. I don't know if you saw that video.
I was wondering if that was the same one. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's Foundry 3 on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, he's a pretty. He's an engineer and he scans all his own stuff, CADs it all. I'm trying to get Brandon's headers and send them off so we can scan those and see what he can do header wise. But he's a good dude, man. Y'all should check him out.
Yeah, that looked cool. I like the way that it was shipped because he had like the 3D printed stuff in between to make sure that everything stayed good.
Yep. My thing I liked was the extended lug or the extended shank on the lug nuts, so you get your full 9.5 turns or whatever it is to get to for your safety stairs. That was awesome, man.
Was that entire spacer titanium?
No. So the spacer's aluminum because that's the lightest weight you can have, and then the lug nuts are titanium. And I think I put in the video, it was like 4.4 pounds for the stock GM ones and 2.4 for the titanium ones with the extended shank. So it's just 2 pounds of rotating mass right there. And then the spacer was like 2.6 pounds, something like that. It was really light. So.
Yeah, I saw obviously, I know about the titanium lugs, and I think without the extended shank, they were a little bit lighter, but not anything crazy.
Yeah, and it's just, the quality of this, man, because I ran the Paragon spacers. I don't have anything bad to say about them, but I'll tell you, man, I'd run Foundries over these just because, engineering's just next level, man. It's really, speaking of, anybody wants to buy a set of rear spacers from Paragon that I took off of my car, like Brandon's, just email me.
Am I reading this right? This guy did not just donate $1,000, right? I'm definitely reading that wrong.
It looks like it. I haven't got the stock exhausted. It looks like good for him.
Can that?
Oh, Eagle spec muffler, super chip. What's HB 1000?
That's what I'm wondering. THB.
Is it like right hand drive from UK for 200?
Oh,
almost got.
Okay, it's a different currency.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
I was gonna say, okay, so I'm looking at it now 1,000. It's $30. So calm down, everybody. Okay, calm down. Good God, man! When I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm fleeing to Mexico. I'm done.
Oh yeah, hey, no problem, Foundry, man. You were a good dude to work with. We support good people on this channel. And like I said, I would have run those spacers if they had them. Not that I didn't like my Paragon ones, but yours are just better built, man.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that you had mentioned in the video, I believe, or maybe it was in the comments, that they were cut down a little bit from the Paragon one, so they'd actually fit into the carbon ceramic dimple part.
For the carbon, yeah. So, but again, too, with the front ones to bring, there's like the hubs. Centric spacer, bring it out so that way when you're putting it on the wheels, it still keeps that so you can center the wheel on it without banging around to your stuff too. There's lots of little nice little touches. You know what I mean? They're really were. The little thing on it where you're supposed to hit on a thing, it says just a little tappy tap.
Yeah.
And then the instruction said no Ugga. He says Ugga Duggas. Brandon and I call them Ugga Chuggas. But I mean, just
I've
the
always
little
referred to it as
stuff, man.
Ugga Dugga too.
Yeah, but just
All
the
right,
little
so
stuff.
Shin says, finally got my right-hand drive C8Z06 from the UK for 200K. Almost got full option, only missing carbon wheels. Sad thing is it came with an EU spec muffler. That's right. 25 horsepower and Stingray exhaust pipe. I have to buy a stock exhaust from the US. Shin, I have a stock exhaust if you want it. The biggest problem is I've had somebody actually reach out to me from Australia not too long ago. They wanted to buy that. It's almost impossible to even ship the thing. But by the time you pay for the shipping and stuff, you're spending a lot of money on a stock exhaust. So if you're really interested in it, though, shoot me an email. It's sitting in my shed. It's yours if you want it, but it's going to cost a lot to get it over there because it's heavy.
Yeah, those things, and it's awkward. Like the box alone, you'd have to put it in. It's just, it's awkward.
All right, so we got him in for 3 entries.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was going to be more like 100 entries, but
right.
I was gonna say that'd be pretty crazy to donate $1,000 to something that's only worth $600. Although I guess the scrape armor radiator grill guards are pretty expensive. After shipping and everything, they're going to still cost you about $700. So somebody in here, I believe it was Steve Robertson donated $200. So Steve Robertson is in the lead here for as far as money is concerned. But guys, we're going to wrap this thing up here pretty quickly here. So if you're interested in getting in on the giveaway of the scrape armor, I'm giving those away tonight. The E5 wheel sponsor for the month will be given away at the end of January. It's $500 off one of their set of wheels. If you don't win tonight, I'm going to carry your entries into the end of the month for the E5. So if you want to, donate anything additional at that point, you can, but it will be carried over just because, Professor Corvette, $100 had to try. I don't think I got anything from you, Professor Corvette, did I?
I think he was putting it in for like a free 100, like instead of the one. In the
chat. Okay. Good attempt. I like it.
Yeah.
Let's see. 166 thumbs ups currently, guys. We got how many we got in here watching right now? Currently we got 173. So dropping off a little bit, but we could still let's try to hit that 200 thumbs up mark, guys. Really helps out the channel. What else we got here? Yeah, let's get those thumbs ups. I'm gonna go ahead and put these entries into the spinning wheel. In the meantime, guys, I'll be doing that for the next couple minutes. So if you make an entry in between now and then, I will still count you. So if you want to get in last minute, now's your time. While I'm doing this, David, do you have anything you want to talk about?
Well, King earlier asked about me popping the hood, so I'll pop the hood.
Oh, nice. There we go.
Not that it's Corvette, but it's got a Corvette steering wheel. So, this is pretty rowdy, the 454 that I did, the Terminator the Max EFI from Holly. But yeah, it's a pretty rowdy little truck, man. Always wanted a big block truck. It came with a 4-bolt 350, and I got a line on a big block from a guy who was taking it out of a Nova, and he's a friend of Brandon's from drag racing days, and asked if I wanted it, and so I was like, yeah, sure. So I got a good deal on it, drove all the way up there, picked it up, and actually that was how, when we were talking about the not trusting people from car stuff, like I bought a big block from a guy that had built it. We took it down, we checked it out, it wasn't leaking, it held everything. Dude, we put it on and started it, and then we pulled it apart. It had like multiple layer gaskets because some of the pistons were above the head. Like it was just, or the cylinder block. It was just one of the most insane. I don't even know how it ran, but I was out like, I don't know what I paid for that, like $3 or $4 for that, and was out. So that's one of the reasons, you got to be careful with these people. But yeah, we that truck though was my uncle's, and when he passed, it was in pieces. And he had always wanted a big block truck, and my son and I picked it up in pieces and brought it to the house, and we did frame off all the way from the bottom up. We kept the patina because my son wanted to keep the patina. He didn't want to paint it. But other than that, every piece on it's new suspension, new everything. And like I said, then we got that 454 to put in it. So took me 2 years to do it. We did it here at the house. But yeah, it was a pain in the butt. I'll never do a frame off on one of these older vehicles again. I mean, I did it because it was just my uncle's truck and kind of like that love I had, but there is no way I would do it again. Not even close, man. There were so many, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours. It's crazy. And yeah, actually somebody put LT7. Actually, Brendan has an LT7 and two LT3s on a stand in his garage, and I'm trying to figure out which one eventually we're going to end up putting in the truck. An LT7 would be cool, but some of those LT3s are pretty banging too. So, but yeah, so and the reason I have it up here is because I'm finishing the job in the main garage, so I had to put it up here just to get it out of the way. So,
Foundry, just so you know, he says winning bid. You have to donate at least $10 for it to be a bid. So if you want to get in real quick, just another $8 will get you an entry. But otherwise, I got pretty much everybody in here. I heard from
Shane.
Huh?
I said it's good to see Shane.
It is. Shane, thanks for tuning in here.
Yeah,
I know he's a workaholic, so it's always good to see him carve out some time for the Corvette Weekly show. It's up to you, Foundry, if you want to. If not, no big deal. I appreciate it either way. But if you want to grab an entry, that's just to make it fair for everybody. I'm a noob. No problem.
Yeah, actually, that's what we were talking about, Bill. Because the two LS3s are built for boost. So yeah, Pro Charge LS3, that truck would be insane.
Is your truck behind you a LS3?
No, it's a 454.
Okay.
But Brandon has an LT7 and two LS3s on stands at his house that he's built, like it had there for whatever.
Oh.
Like we checked the bores on them and stuff. They're perfect. So depends on what he wants to do with them, which ones he puts in what. And then the LS3s are built for boost, and then like 1,200 horsepower worth, something like that, he said. And then the LS7 is obviously NA.
So he built, did he build them from scratch?
Yeah.
Or just...
Yeah. I mean, he's been building LS stuff forever. Like I built the Ford stuff, but he's been building the LS stuff forever. So he's got the one LS7 and two LS3s sitting on stands. So we're, trying to figure out what he wants to do with them first, and then I'm gonna buy what's left over.
Nice.
Put it in this.
All right, guys. I think we're good on the giveaway here. Foundry.
There he goes. Foundry's in. Yay.
All right, so I'll get you in for an entry, Foundry. I appreciate the support. And you are in. So I heard from, I can't remember the subscriber now, but somebody said that last time I ran the wheel, it's hard to see the names because whenever I add in the weights, the names get smaller for some reason. I'm not sure why. So like if you donate more, I put more of a weight on your name. But when I do that, the names get really small. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to actually scroll through the list just so you can see that you are in fact added in there. And then I'm going to run the wheel. So,
big money, no whammies.
Yeah,
Big
just to try to make it a little more, transparent here, because this is just a website that I use. There's not any way for me to choose a winner or anything. I just put it in there based on how much you donated and what the weight is. So I'll show you here what I mean. Can we see? Yeah. So you can see over on the right hand side, you can see the name. Let me see if I can zoom in on this actually, just so you can see it a little bit better. So we'll do that. There we go. All right, so you'll see there at the top, 2020 Matrix 8, he has his free entry, so just one. Whereas down below, David, DBM Racing, who's on here with us, he donated $100, plus he's a member, so he gets 20 entries for the $100, plus one for being a member. Bill Miller's on there because he just joined the membership tonight, so he gets one. Professor Corvette is a member, he gets one. You see what I'm going with here. So you get your free entry, you got one. If we scroll down through here, you'll see Seawolf has 3 because he has a free entry and donated $20. Steve Robertson has 41. So you could tell his name on the wheel here is the biggest it can be. Well, the biggest on here because he donated $200 plus he's a member. So he gets 40 entries plus one for free. So I don't want to go through all these, but you get the idea. So I'm just going to scroll through the list here so you can see your name is in fact on here and you should be weighted appropriately. Jay donated $100 plus he's a free entry. So he gets 21. Gordon Cruz donated 150. So he gets 30 entries. You can see where I'm going with this, but scrolling through all of these, there's your entries. So we have 25 entries tonight. I just want to scroll through there real quick. Like I said, transparency, make sure that you guys know you can see your name. And yeah, the wheel isn't perfectly round.
The wheel is like some mind control device. Justin's mind controlling us now.
I click that middle button, this thing spins, it pulls a winner. Other than me weighting the wheel based on your entries, which is only based on your entries, there's no other way for me to rig this. So I'm going to click the button. Here we go.
Yeah, we can start some side betting on this. We could probably make some money on side bets here, guys. Steve's gonna get it.
Yeah. Oh my, no. Is it Nate? It's Nate.
Way to go, C8 Nate.
Oh my God. C8 Nate wins with 2 entries. Nate, wasn't he always complaining that he never won anything?
Yes.
Nate,
Yes,
you finally freaking won, man. Holy cow. And he has an eray, so he can use the side intakes.
Oh, love it.
Nate.
And Nate, I will not install those for you.
Good Lord. Okay, so guys, all the donations that were made prior will carry over to the end of the month for the wheel giveaway as well, or the wheel $500 certificate for the wheels, except for Nate. I'm going to remove the winner, so he will not carry forward. But guys, awesome stuff tonight. Thank you so much for the support. Thanks for the good conversation. Yeah, it's been a real great one. Nate skates by his freaking skin of his teeth. I don't know how. Like,
that's hilarious. Actually.
Yeah, Steve Robertson says crying. Like, it was right there. If that,
it was right there.
I was like, man, I thought Steve had it for sure because I mean he had such a giant chunk of that pie. But Chili Pepper says I thought the 1 entry guy was going to win. Nate only put in 3. He had, or was it 3 or 2?
I thought it was 2.
It is. It was only 2.
Yeah.
It was 1 free one, and he bought $10 into the super chat.
You never know, guys. That's what we're
so
saying.
So he just won $700 grill guards for $10. This is the beauty of these giveaways.
I think when you were doing giveaways and you did the ACM one, I think I won on a night where I did like one thing.
Yeah.
I was you had so much cool shit. I kept I'm like, I want to win this. I want to win this. I want to win. And the one I was like, screw it, $10, and I won on that night.
Yep.
So,
and that was for the carbon fiber plaque thing, right?
Yep.
That was a $250 gift card you won for $10.
Yeah, $250. Yeah, that was the one night I was like one. Yep.
All right, awesome guys.
Right.
Thumbs up. I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. We will we'll definitely get you in. Anybody who didn't win, so Nate, you'll be deleted, but everybody else will be in for the E5 wheel $500 gift certificate giveaway at the end of the month. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for the conversation. Big thank you to David and Brandon for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's it. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week.